Opening to possibility. This is ringing. Maybe if you turn everything else off except for this, that might help. Test. That's better. There we go. So, if you're wondering why I didn't say opening to possibilities, is because I'm treating possibility as a state of mind, a way of being. Because when we are in that state of mind, that way of being, we see things, we experience things. Life happens in ways that are beyond our expectations, beyond our imagination, when we open to possibility. But when we're so darn sure we're right, that this is the way it is, this is how things are, there's no possibility there. There's only what you have, because if you're so sure you're right, you are. And then that's what you have. So I invite you to ask yourself, are you willing to open up to something beyond what you believe is possible? Are you willing to see things a little differently? Open to the idea that there's something, because what I know is I always know there's some possibility that I can't see. That's my expectation, that's my stance. And so I get to be right and get to see all these things that I didn't even know existed. So at the house that we rented a few blocks from here, for the first time in my life, I have a garden that's mine. And thank you. Now, I have built raised beds for other people. I built them out of wood. My favorite one is one I built out of river rock, because I got to make it curved and really cool looking. And then I put in cardboard, and then I filled it with soil that was guaranteed to not have weeds in it. And then I planted herbs, and the herbs came up, and I had to weed it once in a while, but actually, I didn't have to weed it all that often. And it made me think, as I was working on my garden here, which was filled with grass and weeds and all kinds of stuff that I had to dig out and prepare the soil and change it, that we don't really, in this life, for the most part, get to start from scratch with our consciousness. By the time we understand intention, we've already got a consciousness full of weeds. So I didn't get to experience what I did when I built that bed for those other folks and got it all set up really nice and easy. That was easy. But we don't really, in our consciousness, when I was thinking about this, because this is what I tend to do, whatever project I'm working on, I'm thinking in metaphors. Been doing that for, decades now. Symbols, metaphors, that's life. Symbols and metaphors. This morning I got woken up by the crows. They were very insistent that I get up. I guess they wanted me to be on time today, So I started noticing and thinking about how these weeds could be thought of as limited beliefs. And that we come into this with all kinds of limited beliefs when we're ready to plant an intention. We're already unconsciously got all these beliefs. They're either things that we came up with ourselves as kids. Maybe we were taught them by our parents. Maybe we took them on from the collective consciousness. I thought, that's the way it is. And so then what happens is we're scrambling when our intention is trying to show itself, pulling out the weeds, right? Well, in the beds that I got, because I was thinking about this, I spent a lot of time, days, just clearing out the weeds and grass. These aren't big beds, and I still spent days at it. But I'll bet you have experienced the same thing I did when pulling out a weed by the root, where you hear that snap. And you know you didn't get the whole thing. You know it's still down in there somewhere. You know, the thing about our consciousness is we don't always hear the snap. We think we healed it. Oh, I'm healed in that area now. Right? I'm healed that way. I'm never going to have to deal with that again. And then something happens that raises its ugly head. It goes, oh, I guess I do still need to deal with that. And that particularly happens when we have a very specific intention. This is our intention. And then we're looking at roots. We're looking at limited beliefs. We're looking at things that may not have even shown themselves, but that intention led us there. Led us to take a look at what it is we need to look at that we didn't even think to look at before. Opening the possibility, right? Sometimes you don't even know what you don't know, what's hidden in the roots, until something comes along that makes you uncomfortable. Because it is in our uncomfortability that we have our greatest opportunity to grow. Two sayings you hear me say a lot up here. One is what we embody manifests. That's the basic premise of our teaching here. What we embody shows up. What you want to know what you've embodied in your life, look at what you got. That's what you've embodied. That's the basis of it. You don't look at it to go, oh, I'm bad and wrong because my life has got all this horrible stuff going on in it. That's not the purpose of the exercise. The purpose of the exercise is to love yourself. Go, okay, this is what I have. I want this to transform. I need to look at how I need to transform so that this transforms, which means digging into the roots, getting into the weeds, being aware of when you have a thought that's limiting, being vigilant about those limiting thoughts because they come up so regularly. We're so sure. We build evidence. I have all this evidence that this is the way it is. You're right. And there's this saying, you can be right or you can be happy. You don't get to be both. So which one are you going to be? I choose happy because that's where possibility is. That's where I open to possibility. I invite you to choose happy because that's where possibility is. That's where things open, right? Where you get to see something new that maybe you didn't see before. The other thing you hear me say a lot up here is transformation does not rectify, it transmutes. Now, sometimes we just want to rectify. I do a meditation in the morning. I sit, and I'm starting to do it in the backyard now because it's so darn nice out. And the sun shines in my eyes the way I'm sitting, so I went and got a hat because that rectified the situation. It did not transform the sun. It rectified it. If I have a leak under my faucet, I'm going to either fix it myself or get a plumber to fix it. I'm going to rectify it. So it isn't as if we need to be transmuting everything. It is that you want to know which one you're doing. You want to be on top of yourself to be clear. Like when I'm sitting in a sweat lodge, the only way to rectify the heat of a sweat lodge is to get the heck out. So transforming, transmuting, rising above, having a different experience, disappearing into the songs, the drums, the prayers. That's a transformation. That's transmuting. That is not rectifying. And so noticing the difference, which one are you doing, and which one will support you in this instance of whatever it is that's before you that's making you uncomfortable. Because if it's making you uncomfortable, It's a perfect opportunity. If it's putting you into distress, it's a perfect opportunity. Now, I had a conversation with, I'm skipping over myself. So, preparing the soil. I want to stick with that for a little bit longer. The selection committee here, the leadership of this center, did fantastic at this. They did a fantastic job. Your leadership did a fantastic job of recognizing that they needed to clear the space, clear the soil, before planting the intention of a new minister to show up. And they did it so well that my very first conversation with the committee, I was blown away by their consciousness. Got off the phone, ran over to Ashton. These are the guys. These guys are great. I want this church. And that was because they did such a good job of understanding that clearing happens first. If you clear first, before you plant your intention has a much better shot of growing without chaos. If you go into an intention, taking steps, getting things done because there's a time limit and you got to get it done right now or blah, 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 that's where chaos ensues. Have you noticed that? Am I the only one who's run into that kind of chaos? And so that's the thing, right? Take the time to clear the space. Even if it feels like, oh my God, I need to be doing this other thing needs to be happening, this needs to be going on. I promise you, you'll wind up spinning your wheels if you haven't cleared the space. And you all know that, right? You've all had that experience of rushing into something and then having to do it a second time or a third time. There's a lot of times I rush to come here and then I have to keep going back into the house because of what I forgot. Having our consciousness clear matters. And the people here did a great job of that. They understood that principle. The next piece of this is how we grow from opportunity. So I'm taking a walk with John, and he says, I've noticed your default when you get triggered and wind up in the drama triangle. And for those of you who don't know what the drama triangle is, it is any time you're not in your soul's intention. Anytime you are not clear, focused, but lost in some sort of distress, uncomfortability, or drama of any sort. And the three sides of the triangle are either victim, perpetrator, or savior. Now, what usually happens is wherever you enter, you wind up at all three spots if you don't catch yourself to come out. Now, I'm somebody who really wants to grow, right? I'm dedicated to my own personal growth. And so I've gotten to the point where I can feel my back go up and go, you're about to be a perpetrator. You're about to say something you wish you didn't say. But John, he pointed out that actually, I enter that triangle as a victim and then quickly jump over to perpetrator when I feel like a victim, right? And so I didn't notice that. So it was really cool when you pointed it out. This is what's possible when people are working with you in a loving way, right? They get to show you your next step. And so all week long, I've been noticing, oh, wow, I did it again. I hopped in as a victim. Oh, wow, I did it again. I hopped in as a victim. And I got to notice that. And by continually to notice that, I got to take a look at the signs, what I could look for so I could catch it even sooner. Because, there's a lot of folks who like having what's called peak experiences, where they are in bliss for the moment. But the real growth, And this is what I'm here to tell you today. The real growth happens from the day-to-day work of noticing, of awareness, and then using that awareness to grow. The more you can use your awareness to grow, the more you can sit with your uncomfortability and go, oh, this is really uncomfortable. Oh, if I'm uncomfortable, this is my opportunity. I must be in that triangle. I must be feeling like a victim right now, whether you feel trespassed, because we can build up a lot of evidence about being trespassed, about somebody offending us, about somebody dissing us, or doing something that they shouldn't have done. And when we do that kind of stuff, we miss our opportunity for our own growth. Tending our own fire. And those moments are hard because it's so much easier to blame whatever else is going on. It's their fault I feel that way. So, I am not in any way, shape, or form the same person I was 10 years ago. Not even close. When I first met Ash, I had just come out of just been a couple of months since I'd come out of the cabin in the woods where I had done some growth. But you can only do so much growth about relationship without a relationship. And then in the end, you need to be in the relationship to actually see, what you still need to grow in. And so I came out of there after 3 divorces and met Ash over the internet. And one of the first things I told her is I'm looking for somebody who will be attached at the hip with me because I have a lot of anxiety and fear, and you will rectify that if you are attached at the hip with me. And I don't think Ash fully understood what that meant because she said, okay. And then we moved in together. And the first weekend comes along. She's part of an organization that's mostly online, but sometimes has in-person retreats. And being a bigwig in the company, she is expected to be there to show herself to the folks at the retreats. And the retreats usually run 5 to 7 days. And so the first retreat comes along. This is 9 years ago. The first retreat comes along. She goes to the retreat. By the 3rd day, I am freaking out. I'm thinking, she's cheating on me. She's met somebody else. She doesn't keep her word because she's not calling at the exact moment she said she would. She's busy. She's working this retreat. But I am freaking out. That is not the person you want as your minister. But that's who I was then. Right? And for some reason, she stuck with me. I guess she thought I'd get here sooner or later, And so then there was another retreat, and I freaked out 3 days. It was like clockwork. I could go 3 days, and then I'd start freaking out. And finally, I started looking at, okay, what is this saying about me? How have I closed to possibilities that I keep blaming her, keep saying it's got to be her that changes? She needs to be here with me. I mean, why wouldn't she know that she just needs to be here with me? What is wrong with her? Right? So I'm looking at myself, and I'm going through what I need to go through around this, slowly but surely. This is 9 years we're talking about, right? So recently, she went away for 10 days, came back for 2, went away for another 2 weeks, came back for 2, went away for another 4 days after that, and now is finally home. Thank you for being home. What I noticed through all that time was I was fine. I didn't freak out at all. In fact, she came home and found the house. I had done all this stuff around the house. I'd been in the garden. I'd been doing all these projects and really having a good time. And I thought, wow, I'm not even the same guy. And that's what's possible when you open to possibility instead of being right. I was this guy who was filled with anxiety. I was this, and then so for some of you, so what? She was gone a month. What's the big deal? Well, for me, it was a miracle that I could be okay. The transformation of that, the non-rectifying of that, the transmuting of that, becoming this new person. And I've just been like looking at myself going, wow, I'm this new person. How did this even happen? And I know how it did. Every day, looking at what is going on with me. Every day, tending to my fire. Every day, tending to those weeds. Because a lot of them snap off, and then they're going to show. They're going to show again. And, you got to get in there and pick them again. This work that we do here is not for the faint of heart. It's way easier just to blame others. It's just so much easier. It's their fault, But when we really get in there and start looking at who we are and how we're being, what we bring to life, this is the place where true transformation can occur. This is the place where you get to become who you have come here to be. This is a place where you get to live your soul's intention. But being in class is important, being involved, making sure that you've got the practice going on and getting the support. Even me, I get support from you guys. It was great what John told me. That was really helpful. I love that, when we can point out to each other, oh, this is a place where you can grow. This is a place where I can grow. And then we tend to our own fire, tend to our own garden. I know that there's a lot of metaphors around when the seed's in the dirt, how you can't see it when it grows. You guys have all heard that one, right? I don't got to go through all that about the dark time and you can't see it, and then all of a sudden brings out its head. What I'm here to talk about is the weeds in particular and the limiting beliefs they bring to your life. Being able to catch yourself when you have left being open to possibility. When you are so sure you're right. Because if you're right, you are. There's possibilities upon possibilities upon possibilities happening all the time. I like being right in the idea that there's stuff going on that I don't even know. That, you've heard of Pronoia, right? The Pronoia? Oh, well, everybody knows what paranoia is, right? Right. Pronoia is the indescribable sensation that the universe is working in your favor. That's right, isn't it? Yes, it is. That's right. And so having that feeling, especially when things don't look like they're going well, having that feeling, that's a heart opening that is just extraordinary. I'm telling you this stuff not to brag, but to let you know that it's possible for each and every one of you. This is what's possible. We can get stuck in, I'm too old. I'm too young. I'm too fat. I'm too skinny. I'm too sick. I'm too healthy. I don't even need this. All those things that can come up that are not being open to possibility. You need to know it for yourself when you have closed. Catch yourself. Because if you do, what's possible is brilliant. And I hold that for each and every one of you. Thank you. I love you.